This video will help you learn more about writing a series of paragraphs so you can be better prepared for the literacy test. The series of paragraphs is worth 12% of the overall test mark, and it's marked out of 100. You get up to 60 marks for your topic development and another 40 marks for how well you write. In the past, the series of paragraphs has been the first task in the second half of the test. So you will come back from the break between the test books 1 and 2 and start the second book by writing a series of paragraphs. The skills that people who are marking your work want to see are your planning skills, your ability to present a well-supported opinion in at least 5 paragraphs, your thinking skills demonstrated through your arguments that you use to support the opinion, your ability to expand on your arguments with specific examples, your knowledge of grammar, and your discipline to reread your work looking for errors. Let's start with an overview of what a good series of paragraphs looks like. Even though the instructions say you should write at least 3 paragraphs, you should aim for at least 5 paragraphs, an intro, at least 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. Strong series of paragraphs fill all or most of the 2 pages of space that you're given. If you have messy handwriting, slow down and make an effort to write neatly. If the markers cannot read the writing, they will not mark it. Here are some examples of the kind of writing prompts that have been on tests in the past. There will only be one topic, and even if it's not something you might choose to write about, you'll have to use this prompt to argue one opinion related to the question. It's important that you know you can argue for or against any prompt that you're given, just as long as you don't argue both sides. Stick to just one opinion, and it will make it easier for you to convince your reader. The first thing you should do after reading the prompt is start planning out your arguments. You need to think of at least 3 arguments that will help you convey your overall opinion. Don't just jump in and start writing. Good writing requires careful planning, and the 5 minutes you spend coming up with ideas will save you time later. Usually, coming up with 1 or 2 arguments is relatively easy. It's that third argument that can be tricky. You have to be sure that the third argument is related to the opinion, but not too similar to the other points you've made. If you get stuck, try to get out of your own headspace. Think of the topic from a different perspective. What would a friend think about the issue? What about a family member, teacher, police officer, or business owner? The students who do well in this task are those who present at least 3 logical arguments, even if one of those arguments does not necessarily reflect their own perspective. So, after you've brainstormed, you should start writing an intro paragraph. There are a few different ways you can do this. You can simply state your opinion in 2 or 3 sentences in a short intro, or you can state your opinion and list the 3 arguments that you've brainstormed. Just don't get too specific in the intro. There'll be lots of time to go into detail about your points in the body paragraphs. Each body paragraph follows the same structure. Start with the argument and then list specific examples that bring the argument to life. One argument can have lots of different examples, and by diversifying the examples, you will make the argument stronger. A good way to end a body paragraph is by alluding back to your overall opinion, or by creating a transition to your next paragraph. If you follow this structure, before you know it, you'll have written on much of the space you're given. The final paragraph of your series should be a simple conclusion paragraph. All you have to do here is leave your reader with a strong summary of the ideas you've already presented. If you can think of something memorable or impactful, go for it. The only thing you don't want to do is present a new argument that you've not already touched on earlier. Be sure that you either leave spaces between your paragraphs or make really visible indentations at the start of the first line. Again, try to write as neatly as possible. When you're done, reread your work at least twice just to be sure you haven't missed a word or misspelled words that you do actually know how to spell. Look carefully at the punctuation marks. Make sure each sentence starts with a capital letter and that you've capitalized the specific people, places, or things that are referred to in your writing. Let's take a look at 2 student samples. This sample received a 30 out of 60 for its topic development. Pause this video now and read it. Can you tell why it didn't score well? Does it look like the student carefully planned it out? Are there arguments that support the opinion? Are the examples related to the arguments? Now let's look at a 60 out of 60 for topic development. The opinion is clearly stated in the intro. And take a look at the structure of one of the body paragraphs. Clearly presented ideas, well-supported arguments. This is your goal. Let's look at an example of a student sample that scored poorly on the writing conventions. In addition to the structural issues, what errors can you find in the writing? Here's a writing sample that scored well for its writing conventions. So be sure to reread your work. If you don't feel confident spelling words under pressure, just use the words that you are more comfortable with. Good writing is writing where the ideas are clearly presented. So now is not the time to try out a writing voice that pushes you out of your comfort zone. Stick to a writing voice that's natural to you, and remember that your target audience is an adult who is interested in your opinion. Plan to spend about 25 minutes writing the series, 5 minutes to brainstorm, about 15 to 20 minutes to write it, and at least another 5 minutes to review what you've written. Don't spend an hour writing, because there are more tasks to get to in the second book. If you get stressed out by timed assignments, just breathe. Don't look at it as something you're not capable of doing. You have opinions about lots of things, and you're probably better at supporting an opinion than you realize. This task is really just about carefully planning out your ideas so they can be easily understood. Take your time, plan, and you'll be fine. If you want to see more student samples, you can find them on eqao.com. You can also read the feedback left by the people who are hired to mark the test. So let's review. Invest a few minutes planning out at least 3 diverse yet related arguments that support one opinion about the topic. Brainstorm ideas from multiple perspectives if you get stuck coming up with ideas. Structure your paragraphs in a logical order. Use examples to add length to your body paragraphs. Write a conclusion at the end, and reread your work carefully. A really good idea would be to practice doing a few series of paragraphs before the test. Get feedback from a teacher who knows about this part of the literacy test. And you can always look at samples on eqao.com. Be prepared, be confident. You got this.